Hello, I'm Ben, the founder of Hatch. Hatch is a company that makes custom Android hardware. We're here today to talk about one of the great products that we've done. It's something that I'm really happy about and proud of, and I thought I could share it with you. We get contacted by many different companies in a wide range of industries. This company happened to be in the advertising space, and they wanted to use an Android tablet to put on the shelves of supermarkets to display ads for the products that were on the shelves. Hopefully that was going to increase the sales for the products that were being advertised. But it's not just advertising. This product also has cameras on both sides. On the front side, the camera will take images of people looking at the ad. It doesn't know who the people are, but it just knows that there's faces. And it'll say, oh, you had X amount of people looking at this ad, and then they can correlate that to the increase in sales. So it's tangible ROI. And the cameras also will read the inventory. That means they'll look at products on the shelf on the back and on the front, because the camera will be sitting here and then there's a shelf on the back and the front. And if there's any empty boxes, the advertising company has a way to notify the supermarket what products are empty, and then they'll go and replenish the stock. So that's pretty cool for the supermarket, because traditionally you need to send a stock checker to see if there's any empty boxes, and that takes time and it takes money. And this way it's much quicker to restock products, which means that they don't have to pay that salary, and also they don't lose sales from not having stock. This is the product. So it looks kind of similar to a standard Android tablet. I mean, it has this stem, so it sits on the shelf. And I mentioned there was the camera on the front, and there's a camera on the back. In addition to not looking exactly like an Android product, has a couple differences. The front of it is not a touch panel. So typically Android tablets have a touch panel for control, but our client doesn't want a touch panel because people can then control the product. So it's just a display. The cameras have a 15-degree downward angle, and that's so it can see the stock on the shelves in front and back, and also people's faces. The camera on the front also has a fairly discrete wide-angle lens so that it can take larger pictures, which means that it can see more people who are viewing the ad. Because of not having a touch panel, testing the device is a little bit difficult. So when we manufacture, we need to use a mouse to control the device and run tests on it. So that was something special that we had to write custom protocols for the factory's quality control staff to follow. Also, because of the importance of the camera angle and the mold being made with that 15-degree angle, we needed to write special operating procedures to make sure that the camera was put in properly. Another interesting aspect of this product is this really long cable, because it needs to stay power on all the time. It has a very small battery in case the store loses power for a short amount of time, but the device needs to stay on pretty much all day, every day. And we needed to take that into consideration when designing the product. So there were air vents that went on the top and the bottom, and also there's a special heat sink that sits on the CPU, which is the master control chip, to make sure that the electronics don't get too hot. Generally, we don't like doing external design. We have designers that we introduce clients to if they don't have their own. On this product, we ended up doing the external design as well as the mechanical engineering. Mechanical engineering is very typical for us to do. Custom PCBA is very typical for us to do. This has a custom PCBA. All the component selection and sourcing were done by us. The custom firmware was also handled by us. So yeah, this product from start to finish was a Hatch turnkey solution. Product requirements from a performance perspective are fairly basic, right? It just needs to run a video and use the cameras. So we're not talking about 3D graphics, we're not talking about running any games, we're not talking about high-speed connectivity. So it's a fairly basic tablet. But some things that we had to consider were caveats regarding the camera, because this uses this wide-angle lens. And a wide-angle lens is more difficult to process than a standard lens. So we needed to use a CPU that was powerful enough and compatible with higher end cameras to give a good picture quality. We had tested with a CPU that was standard, high volume, very popular Android CPU, quad core, 64-bit, but found that the image quality wasn't so great. So now we're using an 8-core processor with an internal ISP, an image singling processor, which gives us the result that we want. Another thing that we needed to consider were the trends of the components being used. So this is a standard screen. It's used in a lot of China tablets, but there's a transition happening right now. Previously, MIPI connectors were the standard connectors, and a lot of screens were made with that, and Android CPUs could directly support the MIPI connector. But what we're seeing is that the screens are now starting to use, for the last 2 years or so, 3 years, there's been a transition to use an EDP connector. It's just a different kind of connector. We wanted to make sure to use a CPU that could directly support the EDP screen. The reason for that is because if we used a CPU that didn't directly support EDP, we'd either have to use a MIPI screen, and there aren't many companies making MIPI screens anymore, which means that from a sourcing standpoint, either it's a long lead time, or it's very expensive, or it's tough to find. So the options are quite limited. Or if we put an adapter chip on the PCBA, that just adds more hardware, more cost, more complication. It's just a general principle that when you're designing a product today, you need to take into consideration the technology of each of the components and how they interact with each other, so that you can have a smooth process for producing the project in the future. One of the first questions that I ask customers when they get in touch with us is, tell me about the application of your product. Where is it being used? How is it being used? That question has a lot of reasons behind it. One reason is to understand where our customer is in terms of the conceptualization of the product and where their company is. Are they ready to do this product right now, or are they kind of early stage thought process? Also, I'd like to understand, is the business model something that's traditional and proven, where you're using new technology to add value to a proven market, or are you trying to do something that's really new, unproven, and high risk? This business model is great because traditional advertising, putting it in front of clients at the point of purchase, also being able to give tangible impression feedback to the advertiser by using the facial detection, and also being able to use machine learning to see if there's stock left on the shelves and immediately tell the supermarket. I mean, so it adds value to all the constituents. This product now is in the second generation. We've already shipped some of the first generation product, which is working. It's in supermarkets in the US. It's gaining now firsthand user feedback. Apparently the results are quite strong. We've already developed a second generation that's now in testing, and we look forward to working with this client further and seeing how they develop. There's a lot of great ideas out there. Hatch loves taking a part in those ideas and supporting them. If you'd like to reach out to us, visit hatchmfg.com, and you can drop us an email, and I'll be happy to get in touch. So thanks for watching, and see you next time.